the residents who came to us in 2021. I also have talked with a number of the local residents and folks from elsewhere in the community about the Dylan Jude Arrow Community Center. Apparently there is a very long application that some citizens are reading, and the citizens who are reading it and talking to me are saying, gee, this is embarrassingly full of factual errors. And I hope somebody gets a chance to get those factual errors corrected and get the record corrected before it gets to any official decision making. And I very much hope that our contract with the watershed company will allow a thorough review of the factual record in that submission. That's my report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Councilor,
like Dr. Conley, the two main issues that I have received comments and complaints about, and good comments, they are very happy to see that there was less of fireworks all throughout Ilwaco, except for the neighborhood where I live, that is Vandalia. Also, I received the invitation of two of the tenants from the Beacon RV Park, and they asked me to go and walk with them in the park so that I can see what is happening with them. And there were some reports that were rather, how would I say, they began cleaning the front office. However, if you go to the back, the bathrooms are absolutely not even the worst bathrooms in third world countries that I have seen compared to those. There is also a gate at the entrance that is open so to prevent cars from coming in, but it's only the gates that are open with no fence around, so you can actually walk in, drive in through any of the locations of the park. The park, they have just finished fixing the sewer lines that they have not been working for some time. I didn't ask how many days or weeks. They just told me for some time, but the water lines were starting to be fixed. I also have got many questions as to whether the city has received the application from the Dylan Jude Arrow Community Center. And I told them yes, but they asked me, did it go to the hearing examiner? I have no idea. And one of the reasons is that it's a rather voluminous package. As you can see here, this is a two-sided package, and you can see how voluminous it is. There are at least 400 pages or more, and it is, like Dr. Condiff said, full of contradictions, omissions, beginning with the basic aspects of an application. And so that one, I'm hoping that the city has had the opportunity to review and revise particularly and correct all those discrepancies because they are major. I spoke also with a group of people at the meeting, the city meeting place that is outside the post office, and got to hear from issues about the airport, about the garbage, about the condition of the streets, the board that is in front of the post office where almost everybody in the group had at one time or another, because it stands literally on the street, not on the sidewalk, had touched their vehicles against, and attended a few, two particular interesting and good meetings with Pacific County Immigration Support Services, and one of them is to plan an event, a community event, where everyone, this organization supports everybody that comes into the country, and to whether they are coming from Canada, from Europe, or from Latin America. Their services are open to the community. And I spoke to many people were asking me about sewer, the sewer issues they have and the high cost in Ilwaco. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilor Marcel?
Do we still have road work scheduled for the 25th, I believe? IMBA is tentatively going to come out and do some mapping up on the property the week of August 14th. But I'm going to have some further phone calls with Leah to confirm. For my house, I'm in downtown Ilwaco, so relatively quiet. I was kind of shocked almost, but was paying close attention to dispatch reports and the monitors. There were 23 fires in 24 hours up and down the peninsula. Combination of brush fires, structure fires, car fires. So it might have been quiet in downtown Ilwaco, but it certainly was not quiet up the rest of the peninsula. So yeah, thank you, sincere, heartfelt thank you to our first responders, both at Ilwaco, Long Beach, Pacific County Fire District 1 and 2, for their efforts that weekend.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
That's not. And that's not.
I took note, it's very nice.
It's just in our rules of procedure, we're not allowed to clap and some other things, boo and everything else, so we'll just do that. I think that it's good for our.
Point of personal privilege, do we know what that whistling is? Anyone?
Sounds to me like a bird. Perhaps a frog.
The speaker.
No, speakers aren't hooked up.
Okay.
It does sound more like frog than bird in its persistence.
Okay, I guess there's not much we can do about it. Carry on.
Even locating a frog can be difficult.
Mayor's report. I too haven't heard much. Well, I did get some complaints about the noise out in Vandalia and everything that was going on out in Vandalia. But then I asked some other people and they said, well, it wasn't any worse than it's been in past years, but it was right up there. So then we need to, I think, get something, go along with that, maybe some more signs or something to let people know we do have a ban. The problem with police enforcement, unless they actually see the person shoot the fireworks off, they can't do anything, which makes it really tough for the penalty. So we had a chat with our chief and everything, and it's tough to enforce that part of it. I was trying to think here. I don't really have. It's been rather slow. I mean, there hasn't been much for me for meetings, but they're starting to catch up. I got a bunch of meetings to go to here the next week. So I always like the end of the month because there's not many meetings. Other than that, I think that's all I have to say. Comments of citizens and guests present. I think the only one that signed up is
well,
Mr.
I'll start if nobody else wants to take up the time. I want to talk about trees in the watershed. I've been watching the letters to the editor, and I do question some of the things that people are writing.
Excuse me, Don, if you could come stand on the X, we already have a hand up of someone who often says, I can't hear. So please,
Well, I'll try to be.
indulge our folks on Zoom as well.
I think she has something to say.
Anyway, I'll try to be loud enough so everybody can hear. I'm going to pick on Matt tonight, and as I look at what's been in the papers, it looks like more self-promotion than about the watershed. The reason I will point out some things is that we get our water either from the skies or out of the ground, and there is some plants that take the salt out of the sea. However, I was raised in an area in Vancouver where there was no city water, and everybody had a well. I also have dug 2 wells personally myself, one at 33 feet and one at 40 feet. I also had witched with a maple stake and had a well drilled that is in a river underneath the ground at 186 feet, that you can actually hear the pebbles hitting the casing. I also worked on a well in Ocean Shores that's 400 feet deep and 20 feet of gravel, and it's not quite artesian, but it goes up to a level about 100 feet down from the surface. And that well cannot be pumped dry. The Aberdeen is on the same aquifer, and they also get their water from a well. So what we have is that in 1964, I started pilot's license learning to fly. And when I went over the Vancouver, Portland area, the skies were clear. I mean, just beautiful, see forever. In later years, I noticed that when I was at 2,000 feet, at about 1,800 feet, there's this orangish red cloud. Well, that's smog. And of course, we always heard about Los Angeles, but now we've got it in Portland. That orange went all the way down to the foothills around one, and then this area was cleared. However, a couple nights ago, as I was looking towards the beach with the fireworks going on, there was that orangish red glow. And it was just over the beach area because by Oregon it was clear, and by Ocean Park it seemed to be clear. Now, our winds are basically out of the west. However, on our east winds, we get the Portland smog down, and we get from the west like the other night. Now, that orange cloud is sodium trioxide, which means that it is basically from fuel, but it can be from other things too. So that is in the air. And what I'm saying, that if we're getting our water from the air, it is already polluted before it gets to the lakes that we take our water out of. Because all of this stuff descends on the vegetation. And when you add water, what do you get? Battery acid. So our lakes and streams are full of battery acid. Now, we have a water treatment plant, and it's the state of Washington that controls the purity of the water. And so it doesn't matter where your water comes from. If it goes through a treatment plant, they've taken all the bad stuff out and killed all the bacteria and made the water pure. So to say that you have this wonderful water coming down in the forest, I don't believe is true. Now, talk about mudslides and logging and whatnot. I found out that there'll be no bicycle trails in this watershed. It'll be completely shut down and locked gates to where no one can go up there. Good idea. The second thing is, but with this acid rain, what happens to a tree, because I've logged off several properties when I develop, the tops of them get punk. Punk is a pulpy steel, and the lumber mills don't want that part of the tree, so that is waste. And so I found that the center of a forest that's 2 foot and under goes to Japan, the outside goes to China, and the big ones go to Randall. And let's see, I guess if my time is up, I'm done. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Board. Anybody else from the audience?
I just want to follow with Dave's comment about the fireworks. I think, yeah, it was a great thing to have Ilwaco, and most of the people are following the rules here. But I know personally that a couple of them were residents, and I did explain to them about the, it was illegal. So I think the signage is a great idea. for visitors coming through, but I think we all need to educate and remind people that live here that, you know, it is illegal. I personally couldn't stay in my own home in Long Beach because of the warfare that was going on. And so I came down here thinking I, could sleep or something. But anyway, it's just a follow-up that I think we need to educate with some, just some signage or something for that. And in most part, yeah, it was a lot quieter. It's definitely a lot quieter. But,
It was.
it was better, a lot better.
Go ahead, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, fellow council member, my name is Milton Gudjoe. I own Pacific Salmon Charters in Ilwaco. I've been here for a long time, and I love Ilwaco. I'm going to read some comments here, so I don't get all screwed up. With my age, I can't hear. By the way, the acoustics in this room is horrible. I didn't hear anything you said. Anyway, been there since '84. The subject is the community center. I say no. Really say no. One that needs a public vote. We're taking public money, taxpayer money, yours, mine, the state's, and it will prohibit the future growth of Ilwaco. The industrial group. This council in the city, the port should then look at it. The unforeseen consequences of this facility. Water, sewer, those things need to be taken into consideration. I talked to the sewer plant today, and I'm sure the water. This is last summer, which was a good, not a bad summer. It was down 5 to 6 feet. Now, all these impoundments are built like this. They're gonna just square ball. That 5 or 6 feet now is 10 or 12 feet. Where's the water gonna come from? Think about the unforeseen consequences of your actions. This town right now has got all the schools, we've got the hospital, we've got the music, none of them pay taxes. We need another one to not pay taxes. We need some things in town. We need a hotel, and we need a restaurant in this town badly. I spend several thousands of dollars every year advertising for people to come to town. They come to town and where do we eat? You gotta go to Long Beach. Where do you sleep? You gotta go to Long Beach. We don't have any capacity here. We need some things. Don't expect them to come to you. You gotta go out and want them. To rubber stamp this thing because it makes me feel good is gonna be the wrong thing. Think about the unforeseen consequences of the future of this town. Thank you. And I got liver and onions waiting for me.
You're lucky. Yes, sir. Would you introduce yourself, please, step
Absolutely.
everybody else I knew, like,
My name's Jeff Christensen. I'm a homeowner on Myrtle. And this is regarding the waiver of the fee for the sewer forest businesses of exceptional benefit. And I've had to write this down. I'm not a public speaker. So it says people who start businesses here are not here to get rich. It's because they love and respect the area and its history. They are passionate about Ilwaco and the area. If you have the ability to help small business of exceptional benefit to our town, why wouldn't you? Thank you very much.
thank you. Anybody else? Any audience? Anybody else in the audience?
Can I speak via Zoom?
What, the audience is first, Debbie.
This is Madeline. I'm sorry, I'm kind of also managing children, so I'll wait till the Zoom people are allowed. Thanks, Mike.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, right? Richard Rubio, I live at 307 Lake Street. I didn't know if you were aware, so I just brought some extra information. On Friday, this past Friday, I contacted Holly. You just pass those. I have enough for everybody. I contacted Holly Beller regarding a vote that was, and information that was made to the Port of Ilwaco, informing them at the time that there was a lease agreement, and in that lease agreement, it was with a site plan that was to solely inform the leasee that of the property that they had. For some reason, the leasing, which was a Dillon Jude Herald Community Center, had expanded on that lease. I contacted again Tracy, who is the port manager, and she sent that email. So in this packet, and I'm sure I only brought one piece of the packet, but you can see where there's discrepancies and so on and so forth. And I just wanted to let you know that there are some, there was a change made, which you were there, Mr. Mayor, at this meeting, which was attended by many. And I just want to make sure that it's on the record, and that the packet that you made, that the Dillon Jude people may have turned in, should be updated, and I'm sure that it will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else? Last call. Okay, Debbie, you had your hand up first.
Thank you. My need to speak to you is again because of the echoing. Has the microphone been placed in a different place? Because tonight it isn't just the person sitting off to the side, it is the entire council, sorry, and you, Mr. Mayor, who are echoing, and many of the people who are speaking also, unless I can't see where they are in relation to the table that you're seated at, but maybe they could come even closer to be better heard.
Make sure that all of our PCs are deaf and muted.
Yeah.
We're not getting any feedback. Debbie, I'm sorry. Holly isn't here. She normally sets this up, and we tried our best. We're testing. We've got speakers already installed. We're going to be testing the speakers next this Friday, I think. And well, by the next meeting, we should have the speakers working, and maybe we'll blow you out of your house. I don't know. But the owl is in the same spot it's always been. I could move it a little bit. It might have been in the center of the table. I'll move it over. Maybe that's what's causing it. I don't know. We're trying the best. I mean, sometimes it goes and sometimes it doesn't.
I'm not even seeing the owl video display this time. I'm just seeing the individual council members on their screens.
Well, like I say, I've got everybody on my computer, so I see everybody.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
May I just say hallelujah and let's all pray that it works. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. I hope I didn't cut you off. I'm sorry. I thought you were finished.
Nope, that's quite all right. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know who you are, but I have a hand from Ilwaco neighbor. Would you identify yourself, please, and speak? Ilwaco neighbor, you had your hand up. Are you? Huh?
She's muted.
She's still muted. Unmute yourself, please. Okay, well, Madeline,
Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, I do. Go ahead.
Great. This is Alicia Cochran. I'm a resident here on Lake Street. And I have a bit of, concern also about the DJHCC Community Center. With my property being adjacent to that building going up, I did read through the plans and look over some of the site information. And I have concerns about the pile driving, and I'm wondering if the city is going to be requiring our delicate surrounding structures to have monitoring devices so we can see if vibrations are going to cause issues with, for example, my original plaster walls in my house. My other concern is that with the pile driving, I know it's been known to cause settling in foundations and cracking foundations. I just wanted to make sure that, we have some plan on how we're going to be monitoring and protecting structures like mine that are older. I know several homes on this block, which are over 100 years old, and, there's definitely some concerns among us residents. I speak for myself on that, essentially. The other concern I have is notating the talk about cut and fill that shows they'll basically be raising the property and taking away, soft landscape and building on 50% or 56% of that, hardscape. That water is going to have somewhere to go. And if they're cutting and filling on that property, it makes me think that water is going to end up in my property. And that's a big concern for me. Because their answer to mitigation is the current watering, ditch that we have, which I just don't see that being enough. My other concern is that they're saying that, my trees on my property are enough to, protect me from the noise of the structure and the events and things that they plan on having there. I really don't see that being enough because I already hear sounds from the port that are part of the fishing industry. And, I kind of take that to be the ambiance of this neighborhood, that the heart of this town has been fishing for many years and wasn't my family since they settled here. But when I think about, sitting out in my backyard and hearing big sporting events during the summer, that kind of takes away from my ambiance of, enjoying the birds in my backyard. So I do have some concerns about that. That's pretty much what I want to say at this time. I did feel that the packet was very incomplete. I have some background history with this. I've worked for an architect that's, put together these kinds of projects, and I was really kind of aghast at the lack of completion that this project came into the city with.
Okay, thank you. That's it? You're done? All right, Madeline? You're up. You have your hand up.
Hi, this is Madeline Maxson. I'm the Executive Director of the Columbia Pacific Heritage Museum in Ilwaco. I wanted to speak briefly on the ordinance that would allow the city to make waivers for water hookups. And I just want to speak in support of that. I think it's a great option for the city to be able to use. You already do this with sewer, especially for things that will be for community benefit. I can speak on behalf of the museum that, for example, if we ever do an expansion or build a new structure somewhere on our property that we would need to hook up to water, it would be really great to be able to apply to the city as a nonprofit and with the community benefit that the museum provides to be able to apply for something like that. So I hope that you approve that ordinance. Thank you.
Thanks, Madeline. Anybody else? Anybody else got anything to say? Okay, then I will close public comment. And we will move on to the discussion. Okay, the first item of discussion is to amend the restated grant agreement B22-CP-law.0947. Okay, this grant was, the reason this is before the council is because the city accepted $1,616,000 in grant from HUD in 2022 for partial funding of the watershed acquisition. The HUD determined that it's necessary to amend and restate our fiscal year 2022 CPF grant agreement, fiscal year 2022 CPF amended and restated grant agreement. The year 2022 CPF amended and revised grant agreement specifies that applicable statutory provisions, regulations, administrative requirements for this award. The funds have already been utilized and reported upon to HUD. However, the city is still required to execute the amended and restated agreement so that all of year 2022 CPF grant agreements are accurate and consistent. Okay, so this just is something the HUD's requesting. If you want to, I don't know.
So this is, we have already used the funding for this. They passed a Consolidated Appropriations Act in 2023, basically allowed grant funding to cover planning activities, which that HUD grant previously did not. Our entire planning budget was ineligible to be covered by that grant. That was fine, we didn't need it anyway. We had a loan from the Department of Ecology. This is just like bookkeeping stuff on HUD's end. I don't believe this affects us at all. My 2 cents. It's like, it's based on the law that was signed that now retroactively affects the fiscal year 2022 grants, many of those still being open for many recipients, but won't have any effect on them.
Question?
Mr. Mayor, you were gracious about allowing Councilmember West now to interrupt you. Did you have anything else to say about this?
No.
Okay, very good.
I would have said not quite all that much, but he did a better job. He asked actually, I just wanted him to get in here, so.
Mr. Mayor, I had a couple of informational questions about this. The first is, it looked as if it was relatively pro forma that we are allowed to do more things with the grant than we previously were allowed to do, but it sounds as if we're not seeking to do anything more under the grant than we previously did, so.
Because there's no money. We use all of, exactly. So yes, had we had, like we do have loan dollars left from the Department of Ecology, if we had grant dollars available left in this grant to use for planning purposes, that would have been awesome. But we used the funding in this grant as part of the acquisition itself.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I had an informational question from page 13 of the revised agreement, which is page 39 of our packet. Apparently there is what was intended to be a check one of these two options regarding indirect costs. I've also emailed this to Mayor Casanelli and to Administrator Bella this afternoon, and this is not a reason for delay in my opinion, but it raises in my mind the question, do we customarily charge indirect costs to grant funders? And if so, what can you tell us about how we calculate indirect costs? Again, I'm not trying to delay this decision, just trying to get clarification on something that might matter in the future that this raises as a question. That's something, Mr. Mayor, that you're comfortable answering, or should we wait for Administrator Bell later?
Well, she was sick today, and I had left the office, so evidently by the time your email came in. I saw it when I opened up here.
Okay.
And off the top of her head, she couldn't say. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure what this is. Maybe I'm going to make maybe I shouldn't, but I think I'm going to make a little bit of a wild guess here. Sometimes people hire grant writers. And I don't know if this is asking the question as to whether the grant writers are part of, are being paid out of the grant or being paid out of. Now, that's just a wild guess. I'm not sure if that's even correct or has anything to do with this. But I notice this is indirect cost information, so it doesn't even say what indirect costs are. So that'd be the big question, is what is an indirect cost?
I can speak to the usual meaning of indirect cost as I understand it. Direct cost means what we spent on grant activities that we would not have spent without the grant activities. Indirect cost is usually a term applied to, here is the grant's share of the administrative overhead that the city incurs by virtue of keeping going. And there are arguments in every direction on what is fair regarding indirect costs, and we sure don't need to get into that tonight. But it would be worth knowing if we are calculating indirect costs on anything, or taking default, or just not seeking indirect costs. And what's best for the city may differ depending on which grant it is. So, again, not trying to delay a decision that looks beneficial tonight, just hoping that we can understand as council members the parameters for the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it kind of talks a little bit about that in the page there, but it doesn't really explain what they are. It talks about the percentage, 10% can be for a certain type of, but modified total direct costs in accordance with 2 CPR. So we'll get some answers, maybe email to you and find out. It's probably supposed to be in tomorrow. So I got a busy day tomorrow, so we will see what we can do. You want to move this to business?
I'm ready. Mr. Mayor, move this item to business.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to move the amended and restart grant agreement B22 CP law 0947 to business. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so moved. Okay, we need a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the HUD fiscal year 2022 community project funding amendment and restart grant agreement for grant number B-22-CP-law-0947. Do I have said motion?
May I just say so moved, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead. Got a second?
Yeah, that was okay.
Motion second, okay, I have a motion to second to accept said agreement. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next one, it has to do with the same thing. It's amendment number 1 to WQC 2022-Ilwaco-001252. Do you want to go ahead with that? Maybe you can say it in a short film, but this is pretty much, the city used the $500,000 Centennial grant portion of the funds for the watershed purpose. The city may continue to access remaining $1,774,000 at a 1.6 interest rate for further beverage community forest planning. However, the original agreement expires on June 30th, 2023. An amendment was processed to extend the agreement to June 30th, 2025, which was signed last week by the mayor, but now must be ratified by the city council. So, since we ran out of time, I went ahead and signed it because we don't want to lose $1,774,000. Any questions on this?
Mr. Mayor, did I understand it correctly that this was simply an extension of the deadline to complete all the work and all the paperwork? And it wasn't an alteration of the work, the budget, or anything else, just the deadlines?
I would not have signed it unless that was the case.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Mayor.
Have a motion to move this to business?
Motion to move this to business.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so we're in business to the motion to ratify the mayor's execution of the amendment number 1 to WQC 2022 Ilwaco -00152 between the state of Washington Department of Ecology and the city of Ilwaco.
Should that be retroactively?
Pardon?
Should that be retroactively? Since
Yeah.
you already signed it.
It's,
That's,
I mean, that's dated in the motion.
No, it said ratified, so you, what you're gonna ratify means
Yeah, thank you.
you're,
Mr. Mayor, I move to ratify the mayor's execution of amendment number 1 to WQC 2022 Ilwaco 00152 between the state of Washington Department of Ecology and the city of Ilwaco.
Second.
okay, a motion and a second. This is move to business.
If we did.
Move to business, all in favor?
No,
Oh,
I think we did.
We moved it.
okay,
Yeah, we're in business.
we're in
Now,
business.
now we have a motion to
Approve it.
do the actual ratification.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very nice, so do. Now, the next one on the agenda is the DCD Watershed Task Order number 3, General Planning Support. Okay, we have a motion to authorize the mayor to execute the DCD Watershed Proposal On-Call Task Order number 3 for general planning support. What we approved last meeting did not approve everything. What we did is we approved, I'm gonna say this right, I think it's here. It says in December 2022, the city entered into agreement with Watershed Company, since merged with DCG, to become the DCG Watershed for on-call planning services. This proposal will create a new task for general planning purposes under existing on-call contract. Establishing a task order for general planning will allow the city to better track planning costs for later reimbursements by the applicant. When planning inquiries merit additional work above and beyond general response, separate task orders are established. So what we're doing is we're establishing rules for which they're going to work under. I think some of this is. The budget for 2023 included $10,000 for on-call planning services. Expenditures to date total $10,395 associated with the Port of Ilwaco bulkhead replacement project. $6,076 of those expenses will be reimbursed to the city from the port, with another $4,668 just invoiced. So the port is going to pay us back all that, more than just that $10,000 for all the work that we've done. We keep that because they went over their initial, whatever they gave us in it. Total revenue collected to date for planning services is $10,451, of which $4,375 associated with planning permit application fees. Okay, any questions?
Looks pretty straightforward to me, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, you want to move it forward for business?
Move to business.
second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to execute, DCG watershed proposal on-call task order number 3 for general planning support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so passed.
Point of order.
Yes, sir.
I believe that we require a motion after moving to business with a second. I heard a second for moving to business. I did not hear a motion or a second for the action.
I seconded the motion. You made the motion to move the business.
Business, yes,
Yes,
And Matt second.
that's correct. So we moved it to business.
now we're in business.
Now,
Now we're in business, okay.
I don't know.
Mr. Mayor, I think we're supposed to have motions and seconds from members of the council, so.
Right.
Mr. Mayor, I move to authorize the mayor to execute DCG watershed proposal on-call task order number 3 for general planning support.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to execute DCG watershed proposal on-call task force order number 3 for general planning support. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, so passed. Okay. Thank you. Now, The next one is an ordinance granting the city council the ability to waive water connection fees. The motion will be to adopt ordinance XXX on modifying chapter 13.04, section 10 of the Ilwaco Municipal Code. What it does, Matt wrote this. I mean, if there's any questions, I'll let Matt answer them, but I think I can answer them too. So any questions?
Comment. So this is, we spoke about this last year at some time. Oh man, probably last summer, and it fell off my radar for quite some time. So I was getting it back in front of everybody in a more official manner.
Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to postpone this particular, the vote on this particular item, and not put it onto the business section for now. The reasons, well,
Go ahead.
oh, okay.
I'm not, I was just,
It's a motion.
It's-
I would like the second motion for discussion purposes only.
okay. You want to postpone until the next meeting?
Yes,
Okay. And, just clarification, your motion.
Making the motion, hopefully she'll have a chance to speak for it.
yes, I would like to make this motion that it does not go to business on this particular meeting. And the reasons are that, if I remember right, a few months ago, we okayed a similar ordinance giving the city council the power, we gave the power to grant waivers for sewer hookups. Am I correct?
No, we've had so the modification to the IMC, you can see on PDF page 77, listed in the ordinance is how I've modified it in section 1 of the ordinance. You can see on page 79 of 89, under the reproduced page 1304.110 connection charges, you can see in B3 down there in the bottom 2/3 of the page, the original that we've had in our municipal code since I can remember, I've been here, it says, at the discretion of the city council, after a public hearing, any proposed commercial development that is of exceptional benefit to the city may have its sewer connection be modified. So that's been in there for eons, and I'm just adding, may have its sewer or water connection be modified.
Oh, okay. Well, has anybody applied under this or any
Oh man,
sewer
one, but that was
when?
decades ago? No? Has no one approached council for that?
Not an official approach has been talked about wanting us to do it.
So yeah, this would be for how the IMC is written is a prospective commercial developer. This is restricted to commercial developments.
Right.
Would approach the city council, and the city council would schedule a public hearing, and then get to hear from the public and then subsequently vote on it.
So do I hear correct that nobody has applied for a sewer waiver?
Not that I'm aware
Okay.
There are people that would like to have one, but they've never officially.
They have not applied for it.
Council conduct?
I think we're gonna cut council member Cullimore off. I'm more than happy to wait my turn.
Okay, because having the ordinance to extend waivers to water, this ordinance to extend the waivers to water, for water hookups, I still have some questions as to the sewer ordinance that we have had for eons, which I just came across probably because I'm the youngest, the newest member in the council, that were not answered at that time. And it is talking about exceptional benefit to the city. And what makes a benefit exceptional?
That's the one thing in it that was not defined.
Yeah, and not being defined then makes it very difficult to be able to understand what is an exceptional benefit as just opposed to a benefit. And since that is key to the ordinance, is the first part in the ordinance, that is my first question. The other part is that it says that the ordinance says, and that's again on page 77, many cities throughout the state of Washington have the ability to modify both sewer and water connection fees. Do you have available examples of how these other cities would have worded their ordinances?
I don't at the moment. That was feedback we received from MRSC. We had a phone call. We had this question come in, hey, why can't you guys modify water fees? We're like, well, I don't know, let's contact MRSC. So that was what I believe. I don't believe there was an email involved. It was just a phone call to MRSC where the representative stated that many cities do this. There isn't a reason why there's one versus the other. These are the only two utilities that the city does provide and control. So they're the only ones that we can effectively modify. No, I could scour some city code online, but I couldn't provide you an example right now.
It would be nice to know what cities in particular have been able to give this variance and what is how much money in either a dollar amount or a percentage of total roof would be waived. That would also be important to know. If there are limits, what do we have and how the cities have worded their ordinances, because it says here that it has not had legal review, that Mr. Stillman has not by the city attorney.
That is correct.
And that leaves a door open that we might regret leaving it open. Keep it where, particularly since we don't know what is an exceptional benefit. Nobody opens a business with the idea that they don't bring an exceptional benefit or just a benefit.
Yeah.
And so that's why I would like to postpone this, bringing this to business until a later date when we have been able to obtain more information that will make us have a reliable and reliable data so that we can properly assess whatever we are going to have.
I understand. We have a motion and a second. Any further debate on it? Do you want to go ahead?
Yes, I have some comments, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'm of two minds about continuing or postponing. I started this discussion thinking, why wait? But looking at it carefully, which is what Councilmember Fulham often inspires me to do, I have a question as to what qualifies as a commercial development. It seems fairly clear that a private for-profit business intending only to do business work and no residential component would be a commercial development. But I don't know about something like the DuPay building that is projected as a mix of commercial and residential space. I don't know about the possibility that someone may come up with resources for low and moderate income housing or worker housing in Ilwaco that might be 100% residential in its character, but would be developed and handled in its initial phases by commercial entities and may be run by a nonprofit entity. So I would like to see a little more clarity before we finalize it. I'd like to see a little more clarity on what qualifies as a commercial development. And as such, I believe now, support
postponing, with great thanks to Councilmember Lesnow, first for the diligence that led him to comb through past meetings for things that he and others had promised, and second to Councilmember Cullimore for reading this carefully and inspiring questions about how do we get this exactly right. So I believe, with all respect and affection for the folks who brought this forward, I believe that postponing it to when we have more members and a little more clarity would, I think, help us. I'm not so worried about future councils misusing this authority. I have my own feelings about where I believe it would be appropriate and how I would define exceptional benefit. But I don't think that this council should try to tie the hands of future councils. That's the voters' job. So I would vote for postponement, but with gratitude for moving this forward.
Well, you have a motion in a second.
Second.
Want to call the question?
I think we're done discussing and Diane's calling the question.
All right, we're done. All in favor?
Postponement, yes.
Opposed?
Aye.
Even if I vote, it's a tie, which is,
Wait, you don't.
Yeah, no, you
the
don't.
minority.
You have
Yes, well done, sir. Huh?
You have a quorum, it's 2-1.
Okay. I said, even if I could vote, it'd be a tie.
It'll be okay. We will take this up later and get it exactly right.
So-
And Councilmember Lesnow moving us forward.
Then, so would, are you both able to provide me with, your suggested modifications and clarifications?
My stuff's define commercial development. I don't think that requires an email.
And for me, defining what is an exceptional benefit as opposed to a benefit.
Okay, I understand that part, but
Yeah.
can you help me craft those definitions is what I'm asking. Can I get a first pass at the crafting of those definitions? Because this is our ordinance, it's up to us.
Sure.
I think having used the words commercial development, we should start out by finding out what the law means by commercial development, because that may suggest we got it right exactly as is, or it may suggest we need to fine tune it and qualify it. I can speak though to, if it's in order, Mr. Mayor, I can speak to what I would consider an exceptional benefit to our city.
Can you please email me those, criteria? I think that would be best. But unfortunately, only 2 of us can remain on that email string. So.
Understood, I'm trying to do as much as I can in public meeting.
I'm happy to continue working on this. If you will email me your feedback and what you feel would be commercial, exceptional benefits, the criteria there, and I'm sure we can come to an agreement on the correct definition to incorporate.
I would also like to have a list of the cities that are comparable to Ilwaco in size and financial fragility that are able to waive fees, not only sewer, but water fees, since one of the comments I get all the time is that we have extremely high sewer rates already.
Okay, I might make a suggestion. The state of Washington and their RCWs defines just about everything. So you might be able to find a couple of your definitions in the RCWs or the WAC. I think in the WACs, and you look them up, they're really good in the state about defining things.
So perhaps by the next,
Okay,
time that we take it on, perhaps all those things have been defined by the sponsor of this ordinance modification.
Okay, with that business wrapped up, I entertain a motion. So moved.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Mayor, could I say something very brief? On Zoom a couple of meetings ago, on the June 12th meeting, I may have committed a technical violation of the Open Meetings Act in that while I was with us on Zoom, my text went off and it was a department director saying, thank you for something kind I had said about their department. It was after the conclusion of city business on that department's agenda. And I think it is a technical violation only and exceptionally trivial, but I think I'm under some obligation to disclose it because it was a private communication during the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, second motion to adjourn.
Yes.
Recording